Hi, this is Chris Sugidona with the Maui News, and for this week's Sports Report video, our staff writer, Rob Collias, caught up with Boston Red Sox outfielder and St. Anthony alum Shane Victorino and a couple other celebrities at his annual charity golf tournament this past weekend.
Okay, got Shane, just tell me, let's start with that Grand Slam. I mean, you're struggling at that point in the postseason, the Grand Slam in Game 6 of the ALCS.
I'll put it this way, however way you guys want to look at it, from the standpoint of, people saying I was struggling, people saying I wasn't doing what I needed to do at the plate. I look at it as moments. I've been there before, and again, when I say that with utmost respect and gratitude, and, being able to play in a World Series, win a World Series, play in another, unfortunately lost the second one. So all those kind of moments, I've had a run of postseason history, and been able to play in postseason and having a history behind, what I've done in the postseason and had some success. So, all those kind of moments. People are going to say what they want. People are going to, nitpick, and people are going to point. But, I always look at it this way: is you take one moment at a time. You take one opportunity, and you capitalize on those kind of moments. And, again, yeah, it worked out for the good, by hitting that Grand Slam. And nor in my mind did I go up there thinking that. I just went up there and said that, hey, do what you need to do, get this run in, tie the ball game, and, get us back in the game up to that point. So, for me, I look at all these moments as challenges, as opportunities, and and being prepared. When opportunity meets the challenge, and again, even being in that opportunity, I'm very blessed. People can't even say like, hey, I got a chance to hit with the bases loaded in the World Series playoffs, ALCS, NLCS, whatever it may be, and I've been fortunate. I've been able to do a lot of that, and been and had a fun doing it. So most important, I think that's what I look at it. As I said, I look at these as moments, and I look at it and I take one at bat at a time. And people, like I said, we're going to say the things that they said, and hey, you can't please everybody. And I don't look at it any other way but going up there and in my heart, if I know I give 100%, that's all that matters to me.
And then you kind of cement your legendary status in Boston with the 3-run triple off the monster in Game 6 of the World Series.
Another moment, as I said, again, getting that opportunity, and not many people have had that opportunity, and again, my brother and I and my family has always taught, and always talked about life and talk about challenges that, being prepared when you get presented these challenges. And yeah, there's going to be challenges in life that we don't expect, and for the good, for the bad, whatever it may be. But, I've always played the game one way. And Rob, when I was in high school,
I do.
I was always a competitor. I always wanted to go out there and be the best player I could be. Yeah, there was times in high school I look back upon and I say to myself, wow, I did these kind of things. But, at the end of the day, for me, I think these are all moments that, again, I always use the word moments that, made me who I am today. And understanding the things that I battled, as a child, as a, high schooler, those moments that, acting out on the field, help me each and every day to be where I am today and to understand that. And, those kind of moments, like you said, these are all things, I guess, when I'm all said and done with, when I'm long done from this game, that, they're going to be played, in postseason history, and talk about some big moments. And, to be a part of that, I think is special. But, right now I'm just enjoying the moment. I'm very special. I have a loving family, which is important to me, to be able to come back here and, sit down finally and, get this on video and get this on a recorder and, and having the access to talk about, what this means to me as a player, what it means to me being from this island, and everything collectively that goes with it.
Gosh, Neil, Everett, just tell me, you come to Maui, your Lunas suffered a heartbreaking loss last week, but just tell me, how much fun do you have being able to do this with Shane and just in this kind of setting?
Well, there's, listen, you get opportunities to do things like this throughout the year, and you do them when you can, and then there's those events that are just so next level and mean that much more to you that you do them, and then you hope, gosh, I hope I get invited back to do it again next year. Some of them are one and done. Some of them you hope you're never done. This is the one that's obviously most special to me because the causes that it benefits here in the 808, the relationship with Shane and his parents and his family, the ongoing friendships we've made over the years by coming to every one of these. And then probably the biggest thing, Rob, is because it was my second date with my girlfriend was at the first Victorino Foundation event. And now she's my wife of 4 months, and we're back here celebrating. So it's really a special event all the way around for me.
How can you talk about how Shane fit in with the Boston Red Sox this year. Obviously, everybody remembers the huge grand slam in the ALCS, the game winner in the World Series, the series winner in the World Series. But how about Shane and the Red Sox? How big of a marriage, good fit was that?
Well, two things come to mind, and one is it was last year at this event that Shane was a free agent. And he was working the phones, and we were out on a boat snorkeling, and he's working the phones, and he's got Cleveland in one ear, and he's got Boston in the other ear. And Cleveland's really putting the hard sell on him and offering him probably a more lucrative package. But on the other way, he's like, I really want to play for the Red Sox. I really want to play Fenway, the history and all that. And before that boat trip ended, the phone was down. He said, I'm a Boston Red Sox. So to have been there at that point, and then to see where it all ended, really is a nice wrap to the story. I called a friend of mine before I came over here, and I said, hey, tell me, listen, I know that Shane is a hero for what he did in the playoffs, but how would you rate his year as a whole? Because, he had the injuries and all that. And he said, oh, my God, he was a great pickup. His presence in the locker room, he brought that it factor to this club that needed it. He brings the swagger, even though he's not a big guy, but he brings big swagger. And then he said, the part that I really respect, he said, man, he played the best right field for us since Dwight Evans. And listen, guys, you're my age. We know Dwight Evans. Right. And if you don't know Dwight Evans out there, go Google it. And so that really, I've said, wow, that really made it impressive. And I just think the thing that's most impressive, and I'll probably say it again here a couple times at the golf tournament and tonight at the banquet, is how many professional athletes can you name who are legendary in two cities that are as tough on sports heroes as Philadelphia and Boston.
Right.
And he has cemented himself in both towns, and he did it in the first year in Boston. He never does another thing. Listen, they may boo him out in 2 years, but the bottom line is when they look at the history books, they're going to go, that dude was legendary.
Mark Rolfing, we've been here before. We've had the opportunity to talk. Just tell me, after all that Shane did in the postseason, for him to be back on Maui and doing this sort of thing, what does it say about our guy?
I think it says a lot about Shane, but I also think, Rob, that it says a lot about Maui, because Shane's not the only guy that never forgets, his roots. And all you got to do is look at his dad. I was just talking to Mike Victorino. He has been on the first tee at Kapalua 27 years in a row for that tournament as a volunteer. And, I think Shane, it doesn't matter what he does the rest of his career, but for 27 years, he'll be right here doing this foundation fundraiser. I think it says a lot about the guy and the island.
I look around, I see Andrew McCutcheon, I see Neil Everett, I see yourself, plenty of other guys. You can mention some that I'm missing, but they love this event too, don't they?
Well, they do. The Shane Victorino Foundation has done so much, and there's a lot of fundraisers and a lot of things that go on this island, and so they compete for a lot of the same money and a lot of the same sponsors. But when it comes to Shane, to see a guy that basically grew up on this island, he is one of the great overachiever athletes I think that I've ever known in my life. And how can you say no to Shane? You just can't, because his foundation does so much good.
And this type of event on Maui, like you said, it says a lot about our island, but just the folks that it draws as well. Pretty impressive.
I think it draws a lot of great folks. And, once people compete in this event a couple of times, they sort of become Mauiized. And all you got to do is look at Neil Everett, who opens SportsCenter practically every night now with a "How's it, everybody?" So
loves the Lunas.
He loves the Lunas. I was brokenhearted Friday night over at War Memorial, but it's really a cool thing that everybody comes and supports it every year.
Let's wrap it up with this question: How gratifying is it to be here today again? Is this number 5?
6. It's special,
charitable work to give back.
It's very special to to continue to come back here 5, 6, 7, whatever. As many years I can have, this thing, be a success. And ultimately, I think it's about us coming together as a community, and having folks, come from Boston, come from Philly, come from all over the country to be here today, to give back, to help the kids here in Hawaii, help the kids in Maui. That's what it's all about for me. It's about giving back. And, I've got some things drawn out and what I want to do here in Maui. And, it's a process. It's not one of those things that I just want to dump into it and say, here it is. I want to make sure that I do it correctly. And that's going to last forever. And that's the thing that I'm focused on, is that, I don't want to just come in and say, okay, here's a check for $50,000, go build a batting cage, or here's $50,000, go build a scoreboard, or go do whatever. I want to make sure that when it's all said and done with, it's spectacular. It continues to go correctly. So there's a lot of things that I want to do here. Obviously the first batting cage in YPO last year, and what I did there was because of a lot of that has sponsorships came from that organization, came from that little league, and giving some of that back. And now what I want to do in Maui, I want to do some batting cages, I want to do some fields, that bear my name, my foundation's name, and but again, ultimately it's my name, but it's the community, and that's what I focus on. And I've been very grateful, very thankful that this community has continued to support me in my efforts on the field, my efforts off the field, and how can I sit here and complain? I come here to beautiful Maui, place where I was born and raised, place I still call home no matter what. And someday I will come back and make this my home, and that's the goal. And again, to do those kind of things, to build these fields, to work with the facilities that we have, to make them better, so that kids in Hawaii, kids in Maui have an opportunity to know what it's like. And I remember growing up in some of these fields and playing, but I look back on them, and those all, as I said, when I walk out on the field, it makes me that more gratifying. It makes me that more appreciative of an opportunity to play on some of the fields that I get to play on every single day. In a place like Fenway Park, as we call it, the Cathedral of Baseball. You think back, and someday, hopefully, we'll get to do some of these things, and we are. I mean, my goal is to do it. It's not about are we going to do it. It's a matter of when I'm going to do it and how I can get it done, and done correctly, I think, most importantly. So, I'm excited again to be here today for this cause and, have another great annual golf event.